Okay, so I'm here with another witness today. This is Jaydyn.
Yeah, that's me.
I got your name right, see? Jaydyn, just briefly, just give me a bit of a background. How long have you lived on this property?
Oh God, it's going on, I think, like, well, in Tasmania, like 10 years now. We had the property, we hadn't moved into it yet. We spent a couple of months at my grandparents' house when we moved here.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like 13 when we moved here, and I turned 23 in a month and a bit, so yeah, about 10 years.
Okay, cool. And you've seen a lot of wildlife on the property?
Yeah, I'm the wildlife magnet. Generally, it's just stuff like snakes and echidnas, but...
Okay. You're known as the whisperer, aren't you? The way you creep up on things?
Yeah, that's what they call me. I think it's just that I'm the one that's walking up and down the driveway the most that I end up running into the things.
Okay.
I'm sure if people were outside as much as I am, they'd see more.
Yeah, fair enough. So how long ago was it when you had your first encounter with something unusual?
Well, for me, this was maybe like a bit over a year ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, where I know that my sister and my mother first started seeing something weird around the property. Because they mentioned it a couple of times, how they'd seen a big animal down in the property, like, in front of us. Yep. It was sort of above the hill so we can see out there. And my thought was that it was, I don't know, feral dog, wild, I don't know, really big quoll or something. Possibly we actually did have a dingo running around, which is pretty ridiculous, but my mind definitely didn't jump to Tasmanian Tiger.
Okay.
So the first time I remember seeing this creature, it was like around 5-ish in the evening.
Yep.
Sun was sort of just starting to go down. It was like that grey time.
So it's probably winter, going down that early?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was like winter, autumn-ish, and I was in the shower because our bathroom faces the back of the property. And
Yep.
there's just a lot of trees up the back there and just scrub. And as I've looked out the window, I've seen something. There was a lot more of those prickle bushes.
Sure.
Around here. It's been eaten down pretty much by the wallabies and stuff.
So there was a lot more cover in the foreground, is what you're saying?
It changed a bit after the fires.
Sure, yep.
So, and that's when I've caught the tail end of whatever it is going into more bush, and I've called for Mum. Like on our show, I called for Mum. I thought it was banjo, because the wallabies like to sit up here and eat stuff. And I saw the tail end, like the haunches, I guess, the tail and the legs of something like it was like the way it walked, looked like it was stalking. And I saw it go behind the bushes, and my first thought, because of the colour and the general shape and size, was that it was our dog Banjo, because she does go up there, she stalks the wallabies, and that was around the time, I know specifically, there was like a family of wallabies that had babies, and we didn't want the babies to get eaten, so I got out of the shower, and I went out to the lounge room, and I went to yell to Mum to get her dog inside, and as I was saying that, I realised Banjo was laying in front of the fire, and she was looking at me like, what did I do wrong? Because I was yelling her name. And it was this like complete moment of mental disconnect for me. It felt like I'd slipped into like an alternate reality for a second.
Yep.
Because I was so convinced it was Banjo, because I was like, there's nothing else it could have been. There are no creatures around here that are that colour and size. So I just stared for a bit while I tried to get my brain working. And then Mum's like, what's the dog doing? And I told her. And that evening we sat down and we started Googling things. Because I was like, I bet that's the big thing we've been seeing walking around that front property. So we Googled a few things, and the only thing we could come up with was that maybe it was a tiger quoll.
Right.
Yeah, or just a feral dog running around up here.
Yep.
So after that, we sort of like brushed it off a bit. Like, okay, creepy big thing out there. That might be what the dogs are standing on the deck getting all snarly at, but not stepping off the deck in the mornings.
Yep.
So we sort of forgot about that for a while. It was roughly like around here-ish, where there was the cover that it was going through, like the prickles and like the thistles and stuff.
Yep.
It was going in that direction.
So we're looking no more than about 12, 14 metres, something like that, from the bathroom, not very far at all.
And if it was going in this direction, if you look there, there's actually a little wallaby path.
Yeah, there's a little game trail, so it was obviously on the smell of a wallaby and just following it, I'd say.
One of the things that first stuck out to me that I didn't realise until after I was like, oh, that's not Banjo, was the movement struck me in the back of my head as odd.
Okay, can you describe that?
Well, it did look like it was like stalking, like very slow, very deliberate, but it also didn't look the way like Banjo stalks, like a dog.
Right.
It was a very different, I couldn't think of anything to compare it to.
What if I suggested to you that it looked like it was sort of injured, the way it moved?
Like it had a limp? Like
yes.
Maybe. Like it was sort of like lower to the ground than Banjo does. Like,
yeah, because it was down low with its nose on the scent.
Yeah.
But the rear end was almost peculiar in the way that it was moving.
Yeah.
A bit uncoordinated, perhaps?
Yeah, like it looked wonky, I guess that's
perfect word. The understory's getting quite thick again down through there, and it's quite steep. and then heads up that gully right up into the stringy bark all the way up to the top of the hill.
And if you hear the water, like the creek into the dam does go through there.
Yeah, your dad and I had a walk through there the other day. It's a little bit of flow in
Fun
there.
wildlife fact, sometimes we get cows there because they get out of their paddock and they just turn up down here. And then it was not too long after that, maybe weeks, months, like it was pretty close to that, where I walked down the driveway and there was something like stalking me. So it was around this part of the driveway where it started to follow me.
Yep.
Because I was going down at just probably like 8ish to 9ish in the morning. I was going down to town to go to the library that's down there. And this is the second hill on the driveway. It was from here to like down the bottom of it, where there's a bit of shire land that then it cuts off into this driveway. There's no bush there. It's like, you know how the front of our door is like a hill? Like
yes.
Down? It was around there that it stopped. So from here to the down the driveway where it couldn't follow me anymore.
So you could hear it, and it's up in here somewhere, yeah?
Yeah, and I caught like a brief flash of it, and the colour, again, made me think it was Banjo.
Yep.
So I turn around and I'm like, Banjo, is that you? Come out here. And when I say that, like, she'll come out and be like, yes, it's me. This thing just like vanished the moment I stopped and yelled at it. I was like, oh, that's not our dog. Our dog would be listening to me.
Yep.
So then I sort of like was freaked out about that, but then I went and did my stuff in town, forgot about it, until I walked home like that afternoon, and it was there again. Here into the Shireland.
Yep.
I was thinking in the bush again, and as I was walking, I could hear it just rustling. It was keeping pace with me the entire time, and that was freaky. So I get up to the point where, yeah, just where we hit like the second hill of the driveway.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, nearly home, flat out sprint, and it followed me the entire time, kept pace with me, and it was freaky. But then once I got to that point where, again, the tree stopped, didn't come out and follow me the rest of the way, just
that's where it
back
stopped.
to its own merry business.
Yep.
I was like, that was creepy. I told Mum about it, and she was like, that was creepy. And then we sort of just never mentioned it again. And that was like the last sighting for a while. And I don't know when it was Mum started thinking about Tassie Tiger stuff, because it was before she saw your stuff online. It was like sort of a joke, because we've joked for years now that, I mean, Tasmania is so undiscovered in some parts, it could totally be possible for Tassie Tigers to be out there in the deep bush, just not seen or whatever.
Sure.
Definitely heard something, and then down there it's like a little glimpse. And again, Banjo is where my mind jumps, because they're such a similar colour.
Yeah. So it was below that terrace there, and you caught a glimpse of it.
Yeah, and the first just like that, first thing I've done is yell out for my dog, because if they're in the dam, they're getting dirty or they're chasing ducks or something. We don't want them in the dam. There have been times where they've chased wallabies into the dam and the poor wallabies just thrashed there for a while in the water. And we've had to try and get it out.
Yep.
So they're not allowed in the dam. So I've called out for my dog, and then this thing is just bolted off back into the bush.
So it went along that terrace and straight up there towards the blackberry under there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's when it clicks every time. When you call it and it doesn't come to you, it just vanishes. Like, oh, that's not my dog. My dog would like poke its head up and then ignore me. We heard those weird noises sometimes, but we sort of just brushed it off as like a koala possum. No, we knew it wasn't that. It was like, well, what else could it be? And then it was a few weeks ago. Dad was out late at work because he had to work overtime. It was me and Mum here, I think, because Kiara wasn't here. And I had to go turn the generator off because it was late. Dad wasn't home, so Mum's like, stop putting it off, just go turn the generator off. Dad's not coming home.
Doing your chores.
Yeah. And as I walked down, I heard that it's like a hacking growl sort of thing. Yeah. The thing is, I hear that every night. Sometimes it's like in this area to the side because it's obviously in the bush.
Yep.
And sometimes it's further up the back. And for a while I was like, what is that noise? I was like, is it a quail? Is it a possum? Because I didn't know what noises they made. I was like, it's something out here that isn't happy that I'm out here walking around with a giant
It's letting you know.
Yeah. And it only ever happened whenever I obviously walked past wherever it was.
Sure.
So I went and turned the generator off, and I was like, yep, you're making that noise, good thing. Just used to it at this point, sure, I hear you. And as I walk up, because we don't take Banjo outside to turn the generator off, because she's very naughty. She likes to run off in the dark and then not come home. But Pepper will stay right by my ankles.
Yep.
So as I'm walking up, we get to about there-ish.
Yep.
And then she just bolts up here to where we're sitting now.
Okay.
And she's like growling, and I'm like, what are you doing? Because Pepper's generally the chill dog. She doesn't growl at things. If she barks, it's generally because you've just woken her up or because Banjo's barking at something.
She went into protection mode.
Yeah. So I'm like, I get the spot, I have the spot in my hand, I walk up here, because I'm like, what are you doing, Pepper? And I get here, and it's like in the doorway bit there, and Pepper's like almost belly to the ground, but she's got her hackles up all haunch, but she's growling, but she's not making any move to attack or anything. And as I put the spotlight up, it's not just Pepper there. I didn't get a good glimpse of it because I panicked and freaked out a bit. But what I did see was the light reflecting off the eyes, and whatever it was taller than my dog because my
Right.
eyes were above hers.
Now, she's a
Very
border
big.
collie, so she's a fair-sized medium dog.
Yeah, she's definitely not tiny.
Yeah.
She's got some height to her, but I
Yep.
can tell it was definitely taller than her.
Yep.
I screamed.
What colour was the eye reflection?
It was like greeny yellow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I screamed, and that pepper barks. And then I'm bolting, and like adrenaline, it's like a teleportation drug. Suddenly I was at the door, Pepper was with me. We were inside. I was like, Mum, did you hear me scream? And she was like, yeah, what are you on about? And I told her that I'd seen something in here. I think it was after that she started doing some more like looking up stuff, and that's when she found you on Facebook, I think.
Yeah, well, I did a radio interview on
That's
Triple
what she
M,
mentioned, actually, yeah.
and she contacted me almost immediately after that interview, and that's what's led to me being here now. So, you know, those little bits of media coverage we get certainly bring in the witnesses. So, here I am.
And that was definitely the most recent one I've seen, and the only one I've seen in a while, actually. We've heard those noises, but other than that, I don't think we've actually seen it around. So
Okay.
I don't know if it only appears at certain times of the year, because when I saw it the first time, it was definitely around this time too, because the sun was going down early.
Yeah, yeah. That winter, autumn, sort of shorter days,
Yeah,
longer nights period.
yeah. And we really did only see it in the crepuscular times, like the sort of like,
Dawn of dusk.
yeah.
Yep,
So like not outright nocturnal, definitely not around in the daytime.
yep. Although your mum did mention that her and your sister saw it during the afternoon, didn't they?
Yeah, down in that front paddock there.
Yep.
So when they would see it, because they'd be up there, you can see very well from our front window, like front door, this glass there,
Yep.
on this paddock. And the thing is, that property is not maintained at all.
Yep.
The only maintenance it gets is when our other neighbour puts his cows on it and they
just-
eat stuff.
Get it down for the fire hazard.
Yeah. So all that stuff that's there, and we can't take care of it, it's not our land, as
Sure.
much as it annoys us,
Sure.
is always there, so it's full of cover. And Kiara would see a creature going through there, and they also thought it was Banjo, and they'd go yell at Banjo for going off the property line.
Totally ignored them.
Yeah. So that's their sightings.
And that was in summer, or can't quite recall.
It was like just before rice seeing it, so it would have been like daytime, but autumnish, winterish.
Okay. Cool.
Pepper, don't go in there.
Well, being a fawn-coloured animal with that dry grass seed, sort of grass seed heads on there, it's going to get a little bit of camouflage in there, so not surprising. It's probably stalking rabbits in there.
And there's actually water in there, like beyond that big dam that's now dug there, which was not there.
There is spring-fed
That's
water
like a
in there.
natural creek that goes into our dam.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was just down there sunbathing or whatever it was doing.
Sure, it might have been stalking something small, running around in the grass or something.
There's a lot around here. There are so many bunnies in that paddock.
Yeah, well, I've got plenty of evidence to suggest that they don't mind a bit of rabbit, where they steal them from rabbit traps and stuff historically, so that is quite common. So when you saw it standing in here, the only details you can really say was that it was an animal that growled at you that was bigger than your dog and it had greeny golden eyes.
Yeah, I would definitely say from the rough shape of it, it wasn't like a big cat standing there.
Sure.
Or like, I don't think it was a quail, because quails are pretty small.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they won't have a go at you, they'll run.
Yeah.
They're very flighty.
They're very noisy,
Yeah.
but that's all they are.
Yeah. And quolls are, you know, even a tiger quoll is nowhere near as big as your dog, Pepper.
Yeah. The only thing I could possibly say was that it was possibly another dog, because we have had big dogs. There's like a Labrador or something that lives down there that has come up here before, but it's a very friendly dog. I don't think it would be standing there menacingly at my dog.
With your dog, with its heckles up.
Yeah, and if it was Pepper would be playing with it, and Banjo would have just gone it if it was another dog. But
Sure.
they're very reluctant to engage with whatever's living around here.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. That's very concise and very thorough details. That's really good.
Very welcome. Very sad that I never thought to, oh, my phone's in my hand, better film this.
It's the way of my life, believe me. I've had so many times when people didn't think to photograph it, or they didn't have a chance to film it, or
Just
whatever.
in a bit of moment of like, like it's surreal, and you're like, oh, and then you're like, right, I have modern technology.
It's absolute shock when you encounter one of these things.
Yeah.
So absolutely, no, I totally understand that. And I'm sure sooner or later someone will put all the bits together and actually get that killer photo or bit of film that might just be the game changer.